From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. Radio Pilipinas World Service can also be heard on shortwave broadcast through the shortwave facilities of the United States Agency for Global Media or Voice of America on the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. I'm your host, Leo Magpayo, and this is Dateline Malacañang in Review. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday said the government is now taking the necessary legal steps to bring fugitive former lawmaker Zaldy Ko back to the Philippines as he remains detained in the Czech Republic. In a video message, the president said he has instructed the Department of Justice and the Department of Foreign Affairs to coordinate directly with Czech authorities. President Marcos added that a high-level team will oversee the repatriation process, which will follow established legal procedures between the two countries. The chief executive assured the public that Ko will face the charges filed against him once he is returned to Philippine custody. Ko is among 16 individuals charged with graft and malversation over an alleged substandard 289 million peso flood control project in Nawan, Oriental Mindoro. The Anti-Money Laundering Council also reported that he received 802 million pesos in check deposits from a company owned by his family while serving as a public official. The Sandigan Bayan has declared him a fugitive from justice. Ko was arrested while attempting to enter Germany and later turned over to Czech authorities.
Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat at magbibigay na ako sa inyo ng pahayag tungkol sa kalagayan ni Zaldy Ko. Nananatili po siya sa kustodiya ng Czech Republic at isinasagawa natin ang lahat ng mga kinakailangang hakbang para sa kanyang pagbalik dito sa Pilipinas. Inutusan ko ang Department of Justice kasama ang Department of Foreign Affairs na pangunahan ang pakikipag-ugnayan sa mga otoridad ng Czech Republic upang matiyak na maayos at naayon sa proseso ang lahat ng kinakailangan. Magpapadala rin ng high-level coordination team upang tutukan ito. Ang ganitong mga proseso ay may sinusunod na mga legal na hakbang sa pagitan ng mga bansa, kaya't nangangailangan na sapat na panahon upang maisagawa ng tama. We will bring Zaldy Ko home, and we will do so in accordance with the law. He will answer to the Filipino people.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Monday, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. visited the Araneta Center Terminal in Cubao to inspect the Department of Transportation or DOTR's service contracting program, a key government effort to shield transport workers and commuters from the impact of surging global oil prices. The program, led by the DOTR and Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board or LTFRB, provides financial assistance to jeepney, utility vehicle or UV express, and bus operators in exchange for following authorized routes, deploying units consistently, and granting fare discounts to passengers. It aims to keep public transport running smoothly while easing daily costs for commuters. Around 20,000 traditional and modern jeepneys, buses, and UV Express units are expected to join the program. Drivers and operators will receive 30 pesos to 100 pesos per kilometer on top of their fare income. commuters will benefit from a 20% fare discount, while seniors, students, and persons with disabilities will get 40% off. President Marcos said the initiative is part of broader government support as fuel prices continue to rise due to tensions in the Middle East. He assured that assistance will continue for as long as global oil markets remain volatile. The president also highlighted preparations for possible spillover effects on overseas Filipino workers or OFWs, saying the government remains ready to assist those affected by regional instability. The chief executive noted that agencies are closely monitoring global developments and studying additional measures to cushion the impact of fluctuating oil prices on Filipino families.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. said government interventions remain active and responsive as the country continues to face global and domestic challenges. The president led the fourth Unified Package for Livelihoods, Industry, Food, and Transport or Uplift Committee meeting in Malacañang to strengthen programs supporting livelihoods, food supply, transport, and industry. The Presidential Communications Office reported that more than 24,000 OFWs or overseas Filipino workers have received assistance, while over 4,000 OFWs and 1,300 dependents have been safely repatriated. On energy supply, 471,000 barrels of oil have arrived and another 1 million barrels confirmed. For vulnerable sectors, nearly 977,000 public utility vehicles or PUV drivers have benefited from Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD's Assistance to Individuals in Crisis Situations or IX program, and more than 373,000 have received fuel subsidies. A total of 425 National Capital Region drivers are part of the Tupad Tuloy Pasada pilot program to augment income amid high fuel costs. To secure power supply, the government is fast-tracking 22 renewable energy projects with a combined 1,471 megawatt capacity. Over 86% of government agencies are now compliant with energy-saving measures, while nearly 3,000 offices have adopted flexible work arrangements. Efforts to stabilize food prices continue, with the price hold on basic goods extended until May 10th. The Bente Bigas Meron Na program has reached 661 sites, selling 14.9 million kilograms of rice to more than 402,000 beneficiaries. Malacañang assured the public that the administration remains focused on mitigating the impact of rising global oil prices and tensions in the Middle East.
Maliban sa mga nagawa ng mga programa at pagbibigay ng ayuda, layunin ng Pangulo na tukuyin ang iba pang mga posibleng hakbang para pagaanin ang pang-araw-araw na buhay ng mga Pilipino sa kabila ng mga hamon na sama-sama nating hinaharap. Sa nasabing meeting, kampante ang Pangulo na ang kasalukuyang mga hakbang ng pamahalaan ay nananatiling aktibo at nagpapatuloy base sa pangangailangan ng taong bayan. Ayon sa kasalukuyang tala, nasa mahigit 24,000 OFWs na ang nabigyan ng tulong ng pamahalaan, samantalang aabot na sa higit 4,000 OFWs at 1,300 dependents ang natulungan upang makauwi ng ligtas sa Pilipinas. Pagdating naman sa ating supply ng langis, nasa 471,000 barrels na ang na-deliver sa bansa, habang nasa 1 million barrels out of 2 million barrels ang na-confirm sa ating order. As of today, April 21, nasa 52 days na ang average supply natin ng langis. Patuloy namang sinisiguro ng pamahalaan na mayroon tayong sapat na supply para tuloy-tuloy lang ang trabaho at mga serbisyo. Para naman sa pamimigay ng ayuda sa ating mga kababayan na mula sa vulnerable sectors. nasa higit 977,000 PUV drivers na ang natulungan sa ilalim ng AIX program ng DSWD. Aabot na rin sa mahigit 373,000 ang beneficiaries ng ating fuel subsidy. And-extend na rin ang price hold para sa basic necessities and prime commodities para mas malayo pa ang maaabot ng budget ng bawat pamilyang Pilipino. Walang price increase ng basic needs at prime commodities hanggang May 10. Patuloy na titindig ang gobyerno kasama ang mga mamamayan upang salagin ang epekto ng mataas na presyo ng langis sa pandaigdigang merkado. Makakaasa po ang lahat ng ating mga kababayan na hindi titigil ang administrasyon sa pagkilos upang maibsan ang bigat na dulot ng tensyon sa Middle East.
That was Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Tuesday welcomed the improvement in Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s trust and performance ratings, saying he remains focused on governance regardless of survey results. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the president will continue working despite fluctuations in public approval. She added that the administration is grateful that the public recognizes its efforts.
Magandang nakikita po at nararamdaman ng mga kababayan natin kung ano po ang ginagawa ng gobyerno ng pamahalaan para sa ating mga kababayan. Ngunit muli, sasabihin po natin, ang Pangulo, tumaas man ang kanyang approval rating, bumaba man ang approval rating, patuloy po magtatrabaho ang Pangulo. Hindi po siya maaapektuhan ng negatibo, positibo na mga approval rating. Pero nagpapasalamat na rin po tayong lahat dahil nakikita nila kung sino ba talaga yung nagtatrabaho at sino lang yung mga nagbabakasyon.
The remarks came after Octo Research released its Tugon ng Masa survey for the first quarter of 2026, which showed President Marcos's trust rating at 54%, with 30% expressing distrust. The chief executive's performance rating stood at 55%, up from 51% in the fourth quarter of 2025. His trust rating also improved from 48% in the same period.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Tuesday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. congratulated Thai Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul and expressed optimism over stronger Philippines-Thailand cooperation, particularly in key sectors such as energy. President Marcos spoke with Anutin in a phone call to convey his congratulations on the Thai leader's recent re-election as Prime Minister. In a Facebook post, President Marcos said Anutin's re-election reflects the trust of the Thai people in his leadership and vision. President Marcos expressed his readiness to work closely with the Royal Thai government to expand practical cooperation in priority areas. President Marcos, as this year's Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN chairperson, reaffirmed his commitment to ensure that the regional bloc remains a force for peace, growth, and opportunity for our peoples. Anutin was elected by the parliament to serve as Prime Minister in September 2025 following the Constitutional Court's dismissal of Paitongtarn Shinawatra for an ethical breach. He was re-elected by the House of Representatives on March 19th after his conservative Bumjay Thai party emerged as the largest faction in the February general elections.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Wednesday chaired a key security and development meeting where the government reviewed progress and strategies to address insurgency through a whole-of-nation approach. during the 9th Executive Committee meeting of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or NTF-ELCAC, in Malacañang. President Marcos also administered the oath of newly designated cabinet officers for regional development and security and task force officials. The meeting assessed evolving tactics of communist groups and the status of major government programs, including the Barangay Development Program, or BDP, and reintegration initiatives. The task force reported that the BDP has funded nearly 10,000 projects worth 46.85 billion pesos, benefiting about 15.85 million Filipinos in over 5,600 barangays or villages. Completed projects include farm-to-market roads, classrooms, water systems, health stations, and electrification projects aimed at improving access to basic services in conflict-affected areas. The task force also noted that the National Amnesty Program has drawn 13,647 applicants, reflecting increased participation in government reintegration efforts. During the meeting, NTF-ELCAC officials emphasized the need to sustain development gains while addressing emerging threats such as recruitment, misinformation, and external support networks. Key policy directions endorsed include the possible extension of the amnesty program, expansion of development funding, and strengthened interagency coordination.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Wednesday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. administered the oath of office to Secretary Mel Senen Sarmiento as the new presidential advisor on peace, reconciliation, and unity. The Presidential Communications Office, or PCO, released several photos of Sarmiento's oath-taking at Malacañang Palace in Manila. Sarmiento replaced former Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr., whose retirement from the post took effect on Tuesday. Galvez on Tuesday announced his personal decision to step down from public service, citing his long overdue commitment to attend to his wife's health and devote more time for his family. As Presidential Peace Advisor, Sarmiento is tasked with overseeing the country's comprehensive peace process, advancing peace negotiations, and supporting the rehabilitation and social healing of former rebels and their communities under the Bagong Pilipinas, or New Philippines agenda. Sarmiento served as the head of the Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, from 2015 to 2016 under the watch of the late President Benigno Aquino III. He began his public service as Vice Mayor of Calbayog City from 1992 to 1995. He also represented the 1st Legislative District of Samar for 2 consecutive terms from 2010 to 2015 and was the 3-term mayor of Calbayog City from 2001 to 2010. Malacañang on Tuesday said Sarmiento's extensive background in local government and public administration equips him well for the task.
Dateline Malacañang.
Still on Wednesday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos graced the centennial canonical coronation of the revered image of the Our Lady of Manaoag at Manaoag Church in Pangasinan. The event marks 100 years of faith and pilgrimage to the image, enshrined at the Minor Basilica of Our Lady of the Rosary of Manaoag in Pangasinan Province. The celebration began with the rededication of the basilica on Tuesday, marking the coronation's exact anniversary. This was followed by Wednesday's grand procession and pontifical mass at the Minor Basilica, where Papal Nuncio to the Philippines, Archbishop Charles Brown, led the historic coronation rites. President Marcos held the crown and was blessed by Brown before the ceremonial canonical coronation of Our Lady of Manaoag. To recall, Doña Josefa Edralin Marcos, grandmother of President Marcos, led the coronation during the Golden Canonical celebration in 1975. On April 21, 1926, the image was canonically crowned by Most Reverend Guillermo Piani D.D., Apostolic Nuncio of Pope Pius XI to the Philippines. Our Lady of Manaoag is the third Marian image to be canonically crowned in the Philippines after Our Lady of La Naval de Manila in 1907 and Our Lady of Peñafrancia de Naga in 1924. The image is believed to be miraculous and has been drawing devotees and pilgrims, making Manaoag the most visited faith tourism destination in Pangasinan. With the theme Inan Maria, crowned in grace calling us to Jesus, the event highlights the image's role in guiding the faithful toward Christ.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Thursday led the distribution of assistance to small-scale vendors and barangays or villages in Palayan City, Nueva Ecija Province, as part of the administration's push to ease economic pressures at the community level. The president handed out 10 kilograms of rice each to 100 ambulant and small-scale vendors and took time to speak with beneficiaries during the activity. President Marcos also inspected Kadiwa stores in the area, which continue to offer affordable agricultural products and basic goods to vulnerable groups such as senior citizens, solo parents, persons with disabilities, and 4Ps beneficiaries. After the distribution, President Marcos met with the city's 19 barangay captains to discuss local concerns, with a particular focus on challenges in the education sector. According to Palace Press Officer Claire Castro, the President sought updates on the needs of communities and local governments. Each barangay will receive 200,000 pesos from the Office of the President's Socio-Civic Project Funds to support education and development initiatives. Of this amount, 100,000 pesos will be allocated under the Bawat Barangay Makikinabang program to assist students. 5 graduating students from each barangay, identified as Bagong Pilipinas Barangay Scholars, will receive 20,000 pesos each to help support their education.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Thursday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. inspected the newly completed residential buildings and amenities at the Palayan City Township in Nueva Ecija Province, one of the flagship developments under the expanded Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino or 4PH program. The President was joined by Human Settlement Secretary Jose Ramon Aliling, Palayan City Mayor Viandrel Cuevas, and other officials as they toured the 23-hectare site in Barangay Atate, more than 3 years after he led its groundbreaking in December of 2022. Several mid-rise buildings are now fully built, with others nearing completion. Some units are already occupied, signaling the township's transition into a growing residential community. President Marcos also entered select units to check the living spaces prepared for beneficiaries and visited key amenities, including the Central Park and Clubhouse, before meeting with homeowners. Designed as a vertical housing community, the Palayan City Township will feature 24 buildings capable of accommodating around 22,596 beneficiaries once fully completed. The project integrates open spaces and shared facilities to support a livable, sustainable environment. The development remains open to qualified applicants from Palayan City and interested families from other areas.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine government reported that 1,161 Filipino seafarers have safely exited the Persian Gulf amid heightened tensions in the Middle East, following President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s directive to ensure the safety of overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs. According to a report submitted to the President by Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak, the safe passage took place from the first week of April until April 18th. In a palace briefing Thursday, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said, the seafarers were aboard 22 vessels, including 5 cruise ships that successfully navigated out of the area. Castro added that Kakdak assured the President that monitoring continues for other Filipino seafarers still operating in the region. At least 412 seafarers remain in the Persian Gulf but are reported to be safe, in good condition, and adequately supplied based on updates from their employer Zamil Offshore. As part of ongoing diplomatic efforts, Malacañang said Kakdak and Ambassador Raymond Balatbat met with Saudi Labor Minister Ahmad bin Sulaiman Al Raji to express appreciation for the protection extended to Filipino workers and their families. The meeting also tackled continued cooperation on OFW welfare. Kakdak has since returned to the Philippines with 16 OFWs from Riyadh and Jeddah. The government is also assisting 30 additional domestic workers with transportation and accommodation needs. To date, 7,144 Filipinos have been repatriated from various parts of the Middle East. The administration reiterated that the safety and security of OFWs remain a top priority as regional tensions persist.
Sa utos ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. na masiguro ang kaligtasan ng mga overseas Filipino workers sa gitna ng gulo sa Middle East, ligtas nang nakalabas ng Persian Gulf ang 1,161 na Pinoy seafarers matapos na maipit sa kaguluhan doon. Nagsimula ang ligtas nilang paglabas sa Persian Gulf mula first week of April hanggang April 18. Sa pinakabagong ulat ni Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak, kay Pangulong Marcos Jr., ibinahagi ng kalihim na lulan ang mga Pinoy seafarers ng 22 vessels, kabilang ang 5 cruise ships palabas ng Persian Gulf. Ibinalita rin ng kalihim sa Pangulo ang ginagawang mga hakbang ng pamahalaan upang masiguro ang kaligtasan ng iba pang marino na kasalukuyang nananatili pa rin sa Persian Gulf. Kabilang dito ang 412 seafarers na nasa mabuting kalagayan, ligtas at may sapat na supply ng kanilang pangangailangan, base na rin sa huling ulat ng kanilang kumpanyang Hazim or Zamil Offshore. Nakipagpulong din ang kalihim at si Philippine Ambassador Raymond Balatbat kay Saudi Arabian Labor Minister Ahmad bin Sulaiman Al Raji upang magpahatid ng pakikiisa at pasasalamat sa pagbibigay ng proteksyon sa mga OFW at kanilang pamilya. Sa nasabing pagpupulong na pag-usapan din ang areas of mutual interest at mutual protection ng mga OFW. Nasa bansa na ngayon si Secretary Kakdak at kasamang nakabalik ang 16 na OFW mula sa Riyadh at Jeddah. Kasalukuyan na ring tinutugunan ng pamahalaan ang pangangailangan ng 30 pang domestic workers sa kanilang local transport and accommodation sa bansa. Sa ngayon, nasa 7,144 na ng mga Pinoy ang matagumpay na na-repatriate ng pamahalaan mula sa Middle East. Nananatiling prioridad ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. ang kaligtasan at seguridad ng mga OFW sa ibayong dagat sa kabila ng tensyon doon.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and First Lady Luis Araneta Marcos are headed to Tokyo next month. At the invitation of the Japanese government, the first couple will conduct an official state visit from the 26th to the 29th of May. The visit is packed with high-level protocol and pageantry. The President and First Lady will be received at the Imperial Palace by Their Majesties the Emperor and Empress for a formal welcoming ceremony and a state call, followed by a grand state banquet in their honor. The centerpiece of the trip is a summit between President Marcos and Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae. The two leaders are expected to chart the future, refine the strengthened strategic partnership between the two nations, focus on security, deepen cooperation on maritime issues and regional stability, and economic resilience, solidify agreements on energy and food security. Beyond the halls of government, the President will also sit down with Japanese business titans to court investment and meet with the vibrant Filipino community living in Japan. The timing of this trip is deeply symbolic. This visit marks the first of its kind since 2015, and it comes as the Philippines and Japan celebrate 70 years of normalized diplomatic relations. It's a powerful bookend to a decade of friendship following the memorable visit of the Emperor Emeritus and Empress Emerita to Manila back in 2016.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service can be heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. Radyo Pilipinas World Service is also live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang in Review. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.